kind of. They're reading your brain waves. They're reading your temporal brain waves. So I know there's stuff that can block all of this. You have to, do some research on that. I think like a copper and a stainless steel mesh hat can help with that. There's things called Faraday cage. I'm sure some sort of like oscilloscope that could cancel out some of the signals, block some of the transmission. I noticed on your video number 2, somebody had something there. I haven't been able to really check. I have physical disabilities, and I'm heavily bombarded. I've got at least 3 groups doing this to me, and then, others on top of this. But anyway, there's a basic overview. There's the auditory harassment, and then there's reading your brain waves. And your brain waves aren't in here. They're created in here, but they are out here. And it's part of being a social animal. I'm going to make a little aside here. This is really interesting. David Brooks of the New York Times, he supposedly wrote this book, The Social Animal. Well, I went to Mary Jane Books, who was a progressive bookstore in Albany, right around the corner. And I went looking, down the aisles, and they have some older books. Guess what I see? It's about 20-something years old. It's a book called The Social Animal. But it's not written by David Brooks. It's written by other people, but it's got all the same topics. That's very interesting, don't you think? I think David Brooks, he steps into some of this stuff about mind control. There's a very weird crew. I grew up in Westchester. I come from the wealthiest, or one of the wealthiest families in Germany. We're piss poor now, or certainly I am. This was Alfred Weber and Max Weber. But I grew up in Westchester. I grew up around some ultra wealth. Some of the people that we knew. And I can tell you, ever since working with children, you really see this dirty, dark, ugly side of some of the ultra wealthy. Not all the ultra wealthy and not all the old money. There are some people that are actually very good people. But anyway, I just think that's very interesting. I'll elaborate on that some other time on my own page. So anyway, to address your V2K, that's how they do that. Then with the Medusa, they're doing 3 things. One is, it is a computer program, and it's an algorithmic learning computer program, and it does noun replacement. Now what's happening is you're being triangulated. Your brainwave frequencies are being read, okay? The alpha, delta, theta, beta, whatever. And it's being plunked into the computer because that information, signals being sent, it's being captured. It's being sent through the computer. And they talk about the NSA computer. Well, there's a bigger network of computers than the NSA computer. But it's getting plunked into a computer program, and it's saying, okay, well, this alpha at this sine wave and delta at this wave and the blah, 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 together means this word. And it's happening in nanoseconds. That's how quick this information is being processed. If you notice with the computer, I've got a lot of information, how they hide this stuff, how they break it up, how they bombard people with this information. But basically, it's reading your brainwaves. It's having it processed through the computer. The computer still has difficulty in making complete sentences, and it still responds in broken sentences and incomplete sentences, because the complexity of the mind is still having difficulty mimicking. And that, I think, will always be. So there's kind of a brief overview of that. And they do noun replacement, and you can think that you're actually having a conversation with somebody, but you're not. With the NSA, they have the ODO, the officer on duty, and he monitors a lot of this stuff. This is done, like some of this is done in the Blue Cube at Moffitt. I had worked at Moffitt. Moffitt was environmental health and safety. I was working for a defense contractor, whatever. Everything in Moffitt was shut down. They were trying to open up the barracks again, the officers' barracks again. But there was a building there, a pebble building. It had these, Well, the siding was like a stone pebble, and inside everybody was working on computers in the dark. So this was about spying on people, and they might have been NSA ODOs, just monitoring how this goes for people. And if there was a problem with the computer, they could throw in a line or two. So you have the computer program that can read your brain waves. It is plunking it into the dictionary of language. So brain waves have been cataloged, and the definition of a word now isn't just words. The definition of a word is now brainwaves as well. This is how this computer works. Like I said, it's algorithmic, it's a learning computer, so it keeps progressing, but it still has a lot of problems. That's where the ODO comes in, and then that's where the network of psychopaths come in. And now you have something called BCI. It's called Brain Computerization Interface. And if you want to get into more of this, I would suggest going to Magnus Bill Olson's website, MindTech. There is his colleague, who's also his mother, and these are very competent, knowledgeable people. They've really helped catalog the articles for you. Deborah Dupree from the Examiner is great. Wired Magazine is great. They can walk you through more of this, but it gets a little complicated, and you can get overwhelmed. So you have the algorithmic program, you've got the ODO, and then you've got something called Brain Computerization Interface. Carol here in this building, she's one of these people that are BCI. What they've done to expand the network is psychopaths are part of the network, and they are always triangulated, they're always tracked, and they have an assignment. You said they seem like they were working in shifts. Well, they are. See, the NSA computer isn't at the NSA. Oh, it is, but the more devious and the more destructive and the more malevolent workings are actually through SRI, SAIC, and there's a network of computers. There's a network of computer programmers, engineers, and there's a network that monitors people, like SRI, SAIC has satellite offices all over, that has these psychopaths, literal psychopaths, that are BCI'd into the computer. So let me explain how this works. I'll give you an example with Carol. Carol, if she's on shift, can taunt me. Now, what I'm thinking is processed by the computer. It's sent through the telecommunications infrastructure. Anybody who's got a cell phone, any RFID chip, your computer, your telephone, whatever, you don't even need that. You know, as long as you're in the system, and I am, they can triangulate you and find you. So what I'm thinking, the collection of my brainwaves is sent to the computer. The computer then, in turn, sends it to Carol. Nobody has to speak, you just got to think. It's your temporal thoughts that are being monitored. She's on shift. She hears via the pulse microwave audiogram being sent to her, or what people call V2K being sent to her, and she can respond to that. She doesn't have to speak. She doesn't have to open up her mouth. She just has to have a nasty antagonistic thought. And it's best to use people whose DNA is one of malevolence, violence, deception, diabolical behavior, the absolute opposite of everything regarding preservation. These people are very predatory, they're deceitful, manipulative, they know how to push buttons. So they're part of the system that does this to people. The other thing is, so that kind of gives you like an overview of how they antagonize people. And they do take turns, they do it in shifts. You talk about getting into the zone later on, about blocking this stuff out, having like white imagery. And I would recommend everybody see all your videos and kind of get a sense. But that's a basic overview of that. The radio frequency weaponry, this is what's so dangerous about this. Now, what the American government likes to do, as it is owned and operated by SRI and these criminals, is always say it's the Russians, it's the Chinese. Listen, Russia been there, done that. China been there, done that. Russia, thank God for Gorbachev, He was making treaties and the Green Cross that he has to try to stop all this weaponry. This is so damn dangerous. This weaponry affects biological systems. It affects physical systems. It is destroying this earth. It is destroying humanity. All the things that you can do with the extremely low frequencies are so goddamn dangerous. All of this stuff has to be carefully monitored. And basically, the technology is so accessible and it's so damn dangerous, and it's in the hands of the wrong people. Humanity's carrying capacity is a psychopath. You can't afford to have any psychopath on Earth, because only psychopaths and the psychopathic are doing this to people. It's scary stuff. It sounds crazy. They call this sci-fi stuff. They call Dianne Feinstein. It sits on the Senate Intelligence Committee. She's been behind all this wacky stuff for decades upon decades. They call this sci-fi. Terrifying stuff, really scary. Major advances in technology. But anyway, what you can do with it, like you're talking about heart attack, yeah, they can cause a heart attack, pulse-activating technology. They can cause a stroke. They can cause an aneurysm. That's their calling card. Heart attack, stroke, aneurysm, brain cancer, pancreatic cancer. If you wonder why there's such higher incidence of diabetes, you notice their populations that they target, the black community, the Jewish community, have abnormally high rates of diabetes. It's this weaponry. Also with causing autism. Okay, I work with many patients that had autism. The rates have gone up in a logarithmic capacity. What was 1 in 1,000 births is now 66 in 150 births. I mean, it's surreal. And you'll find out that the only people that are targeted for this, that this happens to their children, are good people who speak out against these psychopaths. So, yeah, they're calling cards heart attacks, strokes, aneurysms, brain cancer, pancreatic cancer, diabetes, and suicide. When you talk about getting suicidal, they have immersed men and they've immersed people in brain waves that are so intense they can make you suicidal. What you're actually describing, and you don't realize you're describing, is the formula that they use to do this to everybody that they target. And it is a formula. All right, let me try to wrap this up so this isn't too long. You're talking about your family. They target everybody around you. If you want to understand how they operate and how they work, they have modeled themselves after a batterer, after a child abuser. And all serious child abusers and serious batterers are psychopaths. Now, they go, no, wait a minute. You're being hustled. You know, these kind of batterers and abusers, they try to latch themselves onto all men. And all men are not like that. They're a small percentage of the population. This is not the majority. They try to hide behind all men, like the Father's Rights group. If you're a real father and a good father, you want to kill everybody in the Father's Rights group. That's the pedophile lobby, and that's affiliated with SRI, and that's a lot of these guys that do this kind of stuff. And their intention to do to your children is such imaginable horror and such depravity. If we don't get rid of this garbage soon, there's no point in having a species. That's how dangerous and disturbed they are. So, let's see. When you talk about your family, they target everybody around you. They're going to target your family. They're psyopsing your family, and your family doesn't know it. There's two types of harassment. There's the audible, conscious harassment, where you're consciously aware, and the conscious brain processes 300 to 400 words per minute. Then there's the subliminal harassment, and they split this up. They truncate words into phonemes, and your brain will fill in the rest. And that your subconscious mind can pick up 1,400 to 1,600 words per minute. So you could be psyopsed, you don't even know it. And everybody in America is under some sort of psyops control. This has been going on for decades. Matter of fact, every president that we've had since 1982, and And I'll probably make a separate video on that and what happened to poor Ronald Reagan. They started practicing on him when he was governor of California. The man was a liberal Democrat. He had a fine mind. He was a good man. His wife and he were inseparable. She caught some of the overspray. She thought she was hearing voices or the house was haunted. No. And I'm going to do a thing on haunted houses. That's all them. I'll explain all the science behind all of that. You don't have ghosts or demons. It's imagery. They do holograms. They do the sound placement technology. They do the sound placement technology. This is Patrick Flanagan's work. They can make it sound like there's a voice like right behind you. They can make it sound like there's something in the ceiling. They can make it sound like, like a demon is speaking to you. And it's them. They can make it sound like there's a voice inside your head. Or voices inside your head. No matter what you do, you can't turn it off. You plug your ears. That helps muffle some of it, depending on whether you have an implant or not. It's really sick shit. But anyway, that should give you a basic overview. So for your family, they're being psyops and they don't know. And then you have to consider how people are conditioned. This is a whole formula. And I'm hoping to get some documents online. I did a lot of research. I try to help boil it down for people. But there's a whole formula that's done. And one of it is how you manipulate and condition a population that you want to control. So for some people, you let them have a cushy life, and you're selecting people that are, kind of mediocrity, which we consider a lot of our professions in America. You have that coming, folks. Unless you're really good people and you know what's going on. But you let a group have success, and you keep promulgating this bullshit. It's part of neurolinguistic programming. And, if you work hard, nose to the grindstone, work hard, life is fair, there is no racism, just hard work, and that's how you get ahead, and blah, 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 blah. So you have that crew, so whenever people speak up, they go, no, you're crazy, that can't be, because you're violating their delusional sense of reality. I mean, at this point, if you don't notice something's wrong, there's something really wrong with you. And then you have the group that you target, and it's always alienation, isolation. It's the same way a batterer does it. Because that's what these people are. All serious batterers and child abusers are psychopaths. Alienate, isolate, terrorize, traumatize, do the smear campaign, intimidation tactics, terror tactics, the constant setup. Like you were talking about the setup that they do. As for masturbation, they do that to everybody. It's all part of the formula that they do. So there's like a cultural formula that they do. There's a professor from Geneseo, I think he's from the Middle East, he knows a lot about this, or he's from Central Asia, and he says, you're a socially, technically engineered people, and he's right. So you can find him. There's Robert Becker with Albany University, The Body Electric. I'm trying to read the electric meme. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of information out there. As for the masturbation stuff, that's part of the formula of this now kind of advanced MK Ultra, enhanced MK Ultra. What they do is, you ever hear about surveys done? Like, how did they get that survey done or sample the population of the United States so quickly? I'll tell you how. When people are falling to sleep, and they're entering REM sleep. You're just about to enter REM sleep. You're like half awake, half asleep. You're about to go into rapid eye movement sleep. That state is called a somnambulistic state. And that's when the mind is most suggestible. And there's 4 things they can do. They can tap into the id and the animus. So there's the id, the ego, right? The superego. Well, the id is just a raw animus. And they can get you to, let's start with sleep deprivation. They send signals that actually trigger your endocrine system, your hormonal system. They poison you with your own endocrine system, your own hormonal system. They'll do sleep deprivation, and they're working on you. Like you said, the time frame's about 4 months for working on you. And they're tapping into your animus and your id. And they're doing it when you're sleeping, so you don't even know. You're being psyops the whole way through. And the thing is to have you engage in behavior that would be out of the ordinary for you. You don't sound like the kind of man, and what I know of you in our interactions, there's no way in hell that Steve's going to be the kind of guy like, it's Mr. Weirdo Neighbor, look at me in my direction. That's on him. They set you up for that. They do it to everybody. They did it to Spitzer. As for Scott Ritter, Carol was the one directly posing. He was chatting to her, not a teenage girl, and he wasn't chatting to Ryan Veneman. That's out of their jurisdiction to do so. Ryan Veneman got nailed for a hate crime. It had to be reduced to hate crime speech. So the deal was you were going to lie and say, Ryan, that you actually were chatting and posing as a young underage girl trying to get Scott Ritter. You were posing as an underage girl trying to catch this horrible pedophile, Scott Ritter. Nobody starts being a pedophile in their 40s. They're always trying to make targets and witnesses look like they are. Now, all these people that do this, again, are psychopaths. And all these people are predators. They're all sex offenders. They're all pedophiles or pedophilic. Even Carol, she's a pedophile. Or at least pedophilic, but I'm pretty sure she's a pedophile too. Nancy, pedophilic. Gene Roberts is another one, pedophile. This is, all about trying to discredit you and make you look like these freaks are. And there's this whole formula that they've worked on, and they do this to men. They try to make men look like pedophiles. They try to make men look like rapists. They can, like I said, in the somnambulistic state, they're tapping into the id. They're psyopsing you. They're poisoning you. They're doing sleep debt to you. They're doing this for 4 months. They alienate you. They isolate you. And, we're social animals. We're sexual beings. And when you're alienated and isolated like that, there's this whole formula that they do to set you up. And they drug you to do this. And they also can slip the MK Ultra drugs to you without you knowing. They'll break into your house, go through your refrigerator, your drinks, whatever. I had Joyce Simmons say to me, I love coffee too. Sometimes I have a cup of coffee that's been sitting there for hours, and sometimes I'll drink out of it even though it's cold. Do you ever do that? I gotcha, sweetheart. I know what that's about because then they can put the MK Ultra drugs. If I leave my apartment, I come back and there's my cold coffee mug. They're going to put the MK Ultra drugs in there. But it's part of the formula that they do. They do this to everybody. It's despicable. They did it to me, They do it to everybody they can. They did it to Spitzer. They did it to Ritter. And it's all about trying to make us look like them, It's always about trying to make us crazy, like a pedophile, like a violent, deranged nutbag, and like a pervert. And also, there are 4 things with the somnambulistic state. They can cause extreme violence. They can make you red hot angry. And this is about immersing you in memes of somebody, let's say having almost a psychotic rage. They can make you profoundly depressed. They can make you suicidal. When you say like manic depression, they're trying to make you look like you're emotionally labile, up and down, up and down, up and down. The more you know about this, the less power that they have over you. And the more you latch on or you connect to me, is the more power you have, and the more you'll be able to get rid of them. You should know this, that I have contacted, let me finish your questions first. Let's see. I mentioned, hallucinations, they do that too. Here's something else that these gals here do. They will immerse men in memes of, let's say, a man having a psychotic episode. They have gotten men and young boys to mutilate their genitalia, even to castrate and emasculate themselves. These people are absolutely evil. The way they do so is they will immerse you in the meme, so it's copies of brainwaves of somebody actually having a psychotic episode of doing this. And it will immerse you in such an intensity, they've already got you drugged up, they've already kicked in, the MK Ultra drugs and whatever hormones, they'll use adrenaline or whatever, and they will terrify you. And you will feel what that person felt. And as they're doing this to you, if they're navigating you through this, they've had men actually cut off their genitalia. You know, these people are absolutely evil. They have no remorse, they have no compassion, they have no empathy, and it is our highest priority to hunt down every one of these damn things. So, yeah, they can cause all sorts of mood swings, all sorts of behavioral aberrations. It's all part of a formula to destroy and discredit you. I will say this. I have been talking to someone from China who's a scientist and evolutionary biologist, and I was talking about how it's the negative mutations, it's the negative preservation mutations, and I was discussing on how theoretically you could use this technology to hunt down a psychopath and use a Tesla death ray and evaporate it. You could actually tear somebody apart at the atomic level. You can rip apart their molecules and their atoms, which I recommend. So let's see. Read your mind, what it feels like. Yep, that should be a good overview of all of this. I think I was going to recap on something. I don't remember what it was. I'm doing this off the cuff. I just woke up. And like I said, you know, they do this to me too. They make me very tired. I already have multiple sclerosis. I have serious physical disabilities. But what's important is the more that you know, is the more that you can stop. Oh, here's the last thing I wanted to say. For everybody who's a serious TI, this is what you need to do. You need to go into Facebook or you go to their regular page. It's the International Human Rights Commission. They are in touch with The Hague, okay? You know, they hang war criminals. They are interested in documenting what is going on, and it is beneficial to them because the plan for this nutbag crew is not just to kill everybody who's Jewish or Semitic on Earth and everybody who's black. It is to completely take over all of Eurasia. They're starting in the Middle East. They use Israel as their foot in the door. And the plan is to blow up Israel or Jerusalem, to blame it on Iran or someone in the Middle East, and to keep going through, to have complete control over all the oil and gas resources, take over Central Asia, and then China. And this is part and parcel of the PNAC documents. You can check this out online. And then you have like the New Age narcissist sociopaths in California. You don't want them in control of anything. You want rational, decent, legitimate people. We all on Earth have one enemy. And it is, you're going to find it in the investors of SRI. You're going to find it in most of the board of directors of SRI and their subsidiaries and their affiliates. It isn't for evil Jewish bankers. No, it's not. They got played. A lot of people got played and pulled into this as part of a devious plan. My anger with America is if you're all so damn smart and a Gillette Nazi and garbage hillbilly, Ku Klux Klan white trash take over your fucking country and really dangerous technology. The problem is, let's say the military, it's not the military personnel. What's in them is absolutely barbaric. It's the DOD, and specifically the DIA and the NSA. I don't believe there are that many Satanists in the DIA and NSA. I think there are people with psyops who believe they're Satanists. Thomas Aquino, House of Set. I'm 47, and I loved old movies and old shows, and I used to watch the Outlaws. That guy's a too-big character actor that they got into the DIA to take part in doing this and psyopsing people, and psyopsing members of DARPA, HARP, ARPA, as part of this plan. It's despicable. These people go 24/7. They've been doing this for 60 years. These are the same people who killed all the Kennedys, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, John Lennon, and this list goes on and on and on. These are the people that killed Benazir Bhutto, the Bhuttos. These are the people that have to be eradicated from Earth. The carrying capacity today is that we on Earth, humanity cannot afford to have one psychopath on Earth. This technology is so dangerous, and this planet is really fragile. They've done so much damage, according to Dr. Nick Begich. There isn't just holes in the ionosphere and magnetosphere. There are slices, and that's our protective barrier. People keep talking about 12-21-12. You know what 12-21 is? It's the winter solstice. It's when we, in the Northern Hemisphere, when we are closest to the sun. And without that protective barrier and serious solar flares, the damage that can be done is surreal. And this technology is so dangerous and destructive. They did the earthquake in Japan, that's all that. The tsunami. I remember we were talking about this on the UC, but my laddie was there. And the cell was radio frequency technology, sending signals down into fault lines to alleviate when a bigger earthquake was coming, which sounded like a good cell. But you could also do that and create an earthquake, and that's on Tesla technology. The thing is, folks, the technology is too accessible and it's way too dangerous. You can't afford to have one psychopath on Earth. And the only kind of people that would do this are psychopaths and the psychopaths. Okay, I hope that gave you plenty of information. Go through it, learn from it. I will be putting up more organized videos. Steve, you've done a great job. Don't give up. And contact the International Human Rights Commission. They have an IHRO organization and commission. Make a testimony. Do a video testimony. Get information to them. They need to have this. They work with the UN. They are part of the UN. They work with the Human Rights Commission. They're the commission that has some bite. And as for the Netherlands and The Hague and all of that stuff, I have a familial connection, my son and all, and his father. So let's get going on that. Follow through on looking at some of the stuff that I suggested. And I hope that's been clear enough to help people. It's hard for me to concentrate. I have to deal with them doing all sorts of weaponry. Oh, one more thing. Why do you talk when they do the pulse microwave audiogram to you? Because if you've noticed, if you don't respond out loud, the pain gets intense. They're conditioning you to speak out loud so you look like you're schizophrenic. That's part of the technology. Anyway, people follow through. Play this video again. Check out Jerry E. Smith. There's a bunch of books and stuff that you can check out. Contact the International Human Rights Organization and Commission. And I can recommend Freedom from Covert Harassment, Peace Pink, Bill Olson, Benjamin Simon. There's a small group that I can definitely vouch for.